The Valorian High Council had existed for 17,000 cycles, ruling over 47 star systems with absolute authority. In all that time, they had conquered hundreds of species, integrated thousands of worlds, and never once had they encountered resistance they couldn't crush within a solar rotation. The ancient warning etched into the obsidian monolith on Keeper World had become a joke among the younger officers. Beware the species from the blue world. They are few, but they are relentless. They do not break. They do not yield. Destroy their cities, and they will fight from the ruins. Kill their leaders, and others will rise. They are survivors of ice and fire, and they will outlast you. Commander Thexfel had laughed when he first read it. Primitive superstition, he'd called it. The Valorians were superior in every measurable way. Stronger, faster, more technologically advanced. What could one backwater species possibly do? He learned the answer when his fleet arrived at Earth. Melissa crouched in the ruins of what had once been New Seattle, her plasma rifle warm against her shoulder. Beside her, Liam checked his ammunition count for the third time, a nervous habit he'd developed since the invasion began 6 months ago. "How many do you count?" she whispered, her breath forming small clouds in the frigid air. The Valorians had destroyed Earth's climate control satellites in the first week, plunging half the planet into an artificial winter. 12 ground units, 2 walkers, probably a command vehicle behind that collapsed building. Liam replied, his enhanced optics scanning the destruction ahead. Standard patrol formation. They still haven't learned. Melissa smiled grimly. That was the thing about the Valorians. They were predictable. They relied on their technological superiority, their standardized tactics, their absolute belief that no species could match them. They didn't understand adaptability. They didn't understand desperation. They didn't understand humans. "Same plan as Chicago?" Liam asked. "Same plan as Chicago," Melissa confirmed. The Valorians had taken Chicago in 3 days. Humanity had taken it back in 5 hours. Moscow had fallen in a week. Humans had reclaimed it in 2 days. Each time, the pattern was the same. The Valorians would establish their perfect calculated defenses, and humans would find the impossible gaps, the unthinkable approaches, the solutions that no tactical computer would ever consider. Because humans had spent their entire evolutionary history solving impossible problems. Melissa triggered the first charge. The explosion ripped through an abandoned subway tunnel, causing 3 city blocks to collapse directly onto the Valorian patrol. Before the dust had settled, she and Liam were moving. Their enhanced suits cobbled together from salvaged Valorian tech and human ingenuity, carrying them across the rubble at inhuman speeds. The Valorians responded exactly as predicted, redirecting their walkers to the explosion site. They didn't see the 30 other resistance fighters emerging from the ruins behind them. They didn't anticipate the electromagnetic pulse that fried their communications. They didn't expect humans to sacrifice an entire city block just to eliminate one patrol. They never expected humans to fight like humans. Commander Thexfel watched the tactical display in his command ship with growing unease. Another patrol lost the 47th this week. His forces still controlled 70% of Earth's major cities, but that number dropped every day. The humans were like a virus spreading through every crack, exploiting every weakness, turning the Valorians' own weapons against them. "Sir, we've intercepted another human transmission," his communications officer reported. "They're calling for reinforcements at the Sydney perimeter." Thexfel knew it was a trap. The humans always transmitted in the open, always made their movements obvious. But he had no choice. If he didn't respond, they would take Sydney. If he did respond, he would lose ships to whatever ambush they'd prepared. Damned if he acted, damned if he didn't. For the first time in his military career, Commander Thexfel understood what the ancient warning had meant. Humans didn't fight to win individual battles. They fought to survive. And a species that had survived ice ages, supervolcanoes, plague, and their own self-destructive wares didn't know how to quit. "Deploy their serfs to Sydney," he ordered, his voice heavy with resignation. Melissa and Liam had made it to the extraction point when they heard the news. The Valorian fleet was pulling back from Earth's orbit. Not retreating entirely, the Valorians were too proud for that, but withdrawing to defensive positions around Mars, it wasn't victory. Not yet, but it was something humanity had been denied since the invasion began. Hope. "They're scared," Liam said, watching the distant lights of Valorian ships breaking orbit. "They actually thought they could break us." Melissa checked her rifle one more time, a habit she'd never lose. Every species that's ever tried to conquer Earth learned the same lesson: dinosaurs, ice sheets, viruses, and Noalians. She looked up at the wounded sky where human fighters were already harassing the Valorian retreat. You can't break something that's already been broken 1,000 times and put itself back together every single time. In Theroans around them, other fighters were merging. Thousands of them from 100 different nations, speaking dozens of languages, united by one simple fact. They were human, and humans didn't surrender. The Valorian High Council would eventually abandon their invasion of Earth. They would return to their empire, add humanity to their list of forbidden species, and update the ancient warning on Keeper World. But by then, humans would already be building ships, learning from captured Valorian technology, preparing because humans were survivors, and survivors didn't just endure, they thrived. End.